So these are 9.1 part 2 that we didn't do yesterday. So complete the examples from the rest of the notes and make sure you turn them in by the end of class. So starting with example 6. So our vertex is at 0, 0, so let's graph it. And our directrix is y equals 1. So y equals 1 means that it's going to go through the y-axis at 1. So our line's going to go through here. So our graph opens in the direction away from the directrix. So it opened this way. So since it opens down, we know that it's going to be an x squared graph. And since our vertex is at 0, 0, it's x squared is equal to 4py. And make a note before you start plugging things in, p is negative because it opens down. So here we have x squared equals, let's figure out what p is. P is the distance from the vertex to the focus or the vertex to the directrix. So here it gives us the directrix, so the distance from the vertex to the directrix would be 1. So P is equal to -1. Since we know that our graph opens down, P has to be negative. So when we plug that in, 4 times -1y. So x squared equals -4y. That would be our equation. Let's look at number 7. So our vertex again is at 0, 0. Our directrix is x equals 4. So that's going to go through the x-axis through 4. So our graph opens away from the directrix. So it's going to open to the left. Since it opens to the left, it's going to be y squared and p is negative because it's opening in the negative direction. So make a note of that. So when we plug in our p, we know that it's negative. So y squared equals 4px. We use this equation because our vertex is at 0, 0. And p is the distance from the vertex to the directrix. So 1, 2, 3, 4. P is -4 since our graph opens to the left. So y squared equals 4 times -4x. Y squared equals -16x. For number 8, we have a vertical axis. Our vertex is at 0, 0, and it passes through the point -2, -2. So let's graph that. Since we have a vertical axis, a vertical line goes up or down. A vertical axis would mean that our graph is either going to open up or down. Our vertex is at 0, 0, and then it passes through the point -2, -2. So our graph is going to open this way. So it doesn't give us any information about our directrix or our focus. We have to figure out what P is using the point that it gives us. So this is X and Y. So since it opens down, I'll make a note, P is negative. But when we solve for P, it's probably going to give us a negative number. And we're using the equation X squared. Up or down, we use X squared. So X squared equals 4py. So I'm going to plug in my X and my Y. So -2 squared is equal to 4p times -2. So 4 is equal to -8p. Divide both sides by -8. So -1/2 is equal to p. So now let's plug that in. We have x squared equals 4 times -1/2 times y. When we multiply, x squared equals -4/2, which would be -2y. That would be our equation. Let's look at number 9. So our vertex is at 3, 2, and focus is at 1, 2. Let's draw it so we get an idea of which direction our graph's going to open. So we're going to go to the right 3 and up 2. There's our vertex, and our focus is at 1, 2. So we go to the right 1, up 2. So our parabola opens in the direction of the focus, so it's going to open to the left here. Since it opens to the left, we know two things, that it's going to be y squared and p is negative. Because it opens in the negative direction, p is going to be negative. So our vertex is not at 0, 0 here, so we're using the equation y minus k squared is equal to 4p times x minus h. Be careful here because the first number is your h, the second one's the k. So the first number goes with the x, the second one goes with the y. So y minus 2 squared is equal to 4p. P is the distance from the vertex to the focus. So we go 1, 2. So p would be negative 2 because we said that it's negative, times x minus h, which is 3. So y minus 2 squared is equal to negative 8 times x minus 3. Let's look at number 10. So here the focus is at 0, 0, and the directrix is at y equals 4. So let's draw that. Our focus is at 0, 0. Directrix is y equals 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we go up 4 on the y-axis. We're going to draw our line through 4. Now be careful because our focus is at 0, 0 here. So our vertex is going to be in between the focus and the directrix. So since these are 4 apart, that means that in between them is going to be 2. So I'd go up 2. And our graph opens in the direction of the focus. So our vertex is at 0, 2. We also know since it opens down, it's going to be x squared. This is our h and k. And that p is negative. Exclamation point. Don't forget that. So let's start by writing out our formula. Since it's x squared, it'll be x minus h squared is equal to 4p times y minus k. Our h is 0, so here we wouldn't put x minus 0 squared, it would just be x squared, because x minus 0 would just be x, equals 4p. P is the distance from our vertex to the focus, or vertex to the directrix, so that would be 2. And make sure you remember, p is negative since our graph opens down. We go in the negative direction, so negative 2. Times y minus k, and k is 2. So here we're only multiplying 4 times p. Don't distribute that out. We leave the y minus 2 in parentheses. So we get x squared is equal to negative 8 times y minus 2. That would be our equation. Don't forget to turn in these notes by the end of class, and then once you turn them in, you can keep working on the 9.1 homework.